What's happening to our auto workers is an absolute disgrace and an outrage beyond belief. Auto workers are getting totally ripped off by crooked Joe Biden and also their horrendous leadership, because these people are allowing our country to do these electric vehicles that very few people want. And it's a mandate. So you'll ultimately be forced to drive in a car that goes for an hour and then you have to have it recharged. I hope you don't want to go very far away. Biden has imposed the outlandish requirement that 67% of all new vehicles must be electric in less than 10 years. That means Michigan and places that make cars, you can forget about it. You better get your union working because you can forget about it. Those cars are all going to be made in China. According to the UAW president himself, one auto company CEO used the word brutality over 40 times in a single conversation to describe Joe Biden. I call him Crooked Joe because he's the most corrupt president in history. He's also the most incompetent. But Joe Biden's cruel and foolish electric vehicle mandate, that's how bad this policy is. Your union heads know it, but the union bosses don't want to do anything about it because they're not leaders. But you know who's voting for me? The people in the union. Yeah, the union heads and the Crooked Joe keep using the phrase fair transition. There's no fair transition. First of all, people don't want the electric car, and the ones that want it should get it. But we want to have all forms of transportation and all forms of motorization to describe this unnecessary forced transition to electric vehicles. But there's no such thing as fair transition that destroys over 100,000 auto manufacturing jobs. It'll be much more than that. Wastes tens of billions of dollars that should be going to the workers and makes new cars entirely unaffordable for the middle class. That's a transition to hell. You're going to hell, and your bosses are leading you right down the tubes. You shouldn't pay your fees. They get these big fees from all of their workers, and it doesn't matter how bad they are, they'll endorse a Democrat, even though the Democrat's selling you down the tubes. Both the UAW bosses and the big three auto executives should be screaming at the top of their lungs. They should be ashamed of themselves, demanding that Joe Biden cancel his brutal electric vehicle mandate before it destroys the entire U.S. auto sector. If the union bosses and the CEOs refuse to fight back against crooked Joe Biden by forcing him to repeal this disastrous electric car scheme, then you will know they're not pro-worker, they're not on your side, they've got some deals going for themselves. And I'm telling you, you shouldn't pay those dues. You should not pay your dues because they're selling you to hell. You're going to be going to hell. You're not going to have any jobs. All those cars are going to be made in China, every one of them. You can forget it, Michigan. You can forget it, South Carolina. You can forget it, everybody. All of those cars are going to be made in China. We sit on liquid gold, and we're getting rid of combustion engines, and they sit on all of the other materials that you need for the batteries. They're going to make all those cars. We're not going to make any of them. So to every auto worker, I stand in total solidarity with you in your fight against Joe Biden's job-killing Green New Deal insanity. It's insanity. When I am your president, I will deliver higher wages for auto workers. I will protect your jobs. I will end Joe Biden's catastrophic electric vehicle mandate. And by the way, if you want an electric car, you're going to get it. But you're going to be able to get all other types of cars, types of vehicles that you want. And on day one, you're going to be back in business with me, and those factories are going to start opening up again. Remember, when I got elected, I told you all about this in the campaign. And when I got elected, hardly a car company built outside of this country. I stopped it. They didn't go to Mexico anymore. I said, if you go to Mexico, I'm putting a big tariff. You'll make a car, you're going to have a 25% tariff if you send that car back into the United States. I stopped it. Well, right now they're doing it again, worse than ever before. We lost 32% of our industry to Mexico prior to my getting there, and we lost almost nothing. Nothing. In fact, we were taking back our industry, but now it's going again. I'll straighten it out. But you have to vote for Trump. You have to vote for Trump. You can't listen to these union guys that get paid a lot of money and they get wined and dined in Washington. They know that electric cars are no good in terms of our workers. So vote for Republicans, but vote for Trump. because if we don't win this election, our country, not only in terms of auto workers, our country will go to hell. Thank you very much.